Corey.
How are you?
I'm doing all right. How are you?
Oh, man, I'm great.
All right, so let's do a little preliminary stuff. Obviously, you hear my voice on the phone. There are two other hosts of this podcast, Jamie Hernan, Adam Haig.
What's up, Corey?
What's up, guys?
What's going on?
And I have to tell you, it's not that I've been resistant to ask you to be on the podcast. It's I've been not as enthusiastic as my co-hosts, who every week are asking, have you called Corey yet?
Yeah, how big is that Rolodex? We're like, come on, get us Corey.
Jamie Bendel isn't enthusiastic about having me on something. This really feels like the old days.
Doesn't that feel good?
It really wasn't that, Corey. Yeah. When we're ready to have the episode, then I will call Corey.
Oh.
The best part is I would just go find the old text, cut and paste, and send it to Bendel.
Right.
Corey, question mark?
Yeah, can we
this time?
Any way you can call him?
And
I appreciate you squeezing me in.
Yeah.
No,
yeah,
he kept coming back with it. He's like, I got Eddie Murphy, I got Seinfeld, I got all, and we're like, fuck those guys. We want Corey.
Well, thank you, guys.
People around here trust the shepherds. Jamie, Adam, and the other Jamie. They always have. The sheep trust them too. Gather round. I'll throw another log on the fire and turn it up just a touch, cause another episode of the BHHcast is starting now.
Brand new podcast begins now. It is the BHHcast. Jamie Bendel, Jamie Hernan, and Adam. Hey.
You know, I was thinking the other day, that's kind of like the Ed McMahon with Johnny Carson used to always give Johnny a big, here's Johnny, you know, and he would really kind of build that up. There's no shows where that happens anymore.
Do you think you could be that guy for somebody?
The couch guy?
Couch guy.
The Ed McMahon.
Yeah.
Oh,
announcer.
Yeah. I'd be
Adam
great at that.
Oh, yeah. Excellent.
I think that if in fact, if Shaquille O'Neal was built to play basketball, I was probably built to be couch man.
But I think in that scenario, you just called yourself Johnny Carson and Bendel was Ed McMahon, and he quickly flipped that and was like, couch guy.
No, I get it. I think I would actually.
I actually think he was saying that I'm kind of his.
He's my Ed McMahon.
I know, and
you flipped it quickly.
You flipped it, and
Adam,
you're like,
would you like to be?
How do you feel about being the couch guy?
I'll
be the Johnny
happy
Carson.
Oh, I would love to be the couch guy. I think I'm a good couch guy.
Does a great job.
Yeah.
Do the late night
I'll
shows?
sit behind the desk if I have to.
They still sometimes have a couch guy, but not so much anymore.
Not so much couch guy. I think a lot of times announcer guy stays over an announcer area.
Yeah, and it's almost like a producer or something that they kind of a Gelman.
I think Craig Ferguson actually had a skeleton as his couch guy.
That's rough. Anyhow, but so I appreciate the intro, and I miss
the intros.
I miss the here's Johnny, but it's a little bit of an homage to him.
The homage.
Yeah, to a bygone era.
We need more of that back.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think there's words we need to start bringing back. And
Example? Thus and such?
No, I wouldn't say thus and such needs to come back anytime soon.
I have a feeling it's going to rear its ugly head in this very episode.
Yeah, I should have probably had some words that I could go to.
Oh, ready?
Yeah.
Actual.
When I bring up a topic like we need words. Yeah.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
This episode is so entertaining because we really kind of get to vicariously experience something through our guest that not everybody gets to experience, which is how to actually get paid for expressing your real political feelings.
Yeah.
I thought you were going to say being sent out on the porch by your wife.
He does mention that he goes out on the porch. That wasn't really one of the highlights.
No, and I'm not sure he's getting paid for that.
But did you notice throughout that interview, you will hear the door creaking?
Yeah.
And
you assume it's a door. I don't think it was a door.
Well, I was thinking he just kept peeking in to see if he was allowed back in.
It's
I
possible.
just imagine his wife was like, nope.
It's possible. And for you podcast listeners across the country, it's a kind of a Southern tradition to have the squeaky screen porch door slap as
if it's quiet,
slap.
it's broken. You're bringing that back to Home Depot.
Exactly. So it's a nice little charm of our Georgia setting here to have a
Why is there
squeaky
not
screen door.
a screen door setting on most sound machines?
Yeah, I don't know.
When they do rain on roof, it should periodically be broken up by door smacking.
Completely agree.
Yeah, Sheep, this next blank spot that I'm going to put here is going to be for all of the creaky door sounds that I can find while editing this episode. And begin.
All right. Are we going to...
Wow, that was short.
So short. There's very few could find.
Yeah, there should be plenty of... Oh, my injection site just itched for COVID shot 2. Does that mean it's setting in?
You okay?
I just scratched my injection site, and I don't
You okay?
know. I heard it comes on very quickly.
It looks like it's coming on very quickly. Like, I'm looking at your arm right now.
Is it swelling?
I'm not sure swelling is the word.
I don't want to.
Swelling would be like the whole arm, but there's definitely like a bubble
There's a spot.
coming in.
It's kind of Ripley.
I would say mosquito bite / bubblegum bubble.
Bubblegum bubble?
Yeah, which is kind of coming out now.
Not
And
to
it's
cha-
growing at a bubblegum bubble rate.
Not to change the subject.
I'm not sure we should continue.
Okay, I do have something that I need to share that's a personal
Yeah,
thing.
let's give it to me.
I was out of town for a few days.
Yeah.
And during those days, the car got covered in pollen and
Sure did.
leaf debris.
Yeah.
As I like to call it, nature's glitter.
Oh,
Okay?
that's a very positive way to think about
Because
it.
it gets everywhere. And I took my car to get washed. And before I took my car to get washed, I noticed what appeared to be some bird excrement on the door ledge, like where you'd put your elbow out the window,
Oh,
right?
don't
Kinda
like that.
spot.
Yeah.
And I thought, I got to clean it. So I got
Yeah.
the car cleaned,
Yeah.
got out, went on my business. First time I came back to my car, I thought, oh, that bird thing didn't come off.
Okay.
And I went to grab it. Piece of gum. Piece of gum.
Whoa.
Stuck on my door. And
Whoa.
I thought,
And you know where that came from, right?
Your wife.
No, that came from somebody getting rid of their gum and it not clearing.
which I think was me.
Oh, it was you.
I think I self-gummed my car.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, for the first time ever, I normally think like it's just out, it's gone.
Yeah, no.
It apparently can stick to your door.
It's
Yeah,
supposed to be a
especially as
toss,
we-
not a slam.
Especially
No slam
the
dunk.
more aerodynamic your car is, the more
I would
likely
have
you
thought
get the kickback.
I would have thought I'm at a fast enough speed.
No, the faster you're going, the more likely the kickback.
No, it's a bounce off. I mean,
No,
it's a,
Oh, no,
no,
it's a-
no.
yeah,
The
it's a-
wind kicks it right into the car.
and then
It-
what?
it-
Sucks it in until it dries, and
Yeah,
I
you
go
gotta
on
be-
vacation, and it sticks there.
Yeah, you got sub 45.
gosh.
Sub 45.
Anyway, it was
Sorry, man.
troubled me when I thought it was stranger gum, and then I turned that frown upside down when I realized it was my gum.
And how did you realize that?
Stuck it back in my mouth.
Oh, you did not.
No, of course not.
Okay,
I'm
jeez.
not an animal.
Oh my gosh. I just picturing
I mean,
Elf right there, where he's
no.
like picking stuff off the subway and tasting it.
I mean, clearly it's my own gum, and I know it's clean because I just went through the car wash.
Well,
I mean, you couldn't have a cleaner piece of gum.
it's nice wax.
Car
It's got a
wash
nice
gum.
wax on
Oh,
it.
first of all, it's got tire shine on it.
Yeah,
It's got
exactly.
a little bit of Simon.
It's got the Rain X.
Oh, yeah, it's got
By the
everything.
way,
I mean,
you
of
could
course-
chew it forever now.
It probably would have
Doesn't
lost
lose its flavor.
It had already lost its flavor, which is why I discarded it in the first
Of course,
Right.
of course, it has all those things because Bendel gets the deluxe wash. You know,
Okay, so
this is where we start picking on
no,
Bendel
no,
about his elitism.
No, if we need to bring in the
let's just-
show ethicist, because I got my car washed but didn't vacuum.
What is an ethicist?
It's the person who helps you resolve the conundrums in your life.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Okay. I'm assuming the show has one.
An ethicist.
An ethicist.
Okay.
Kind of like an ombudsman.
Ombudsman.
Yeah.
Okay.
that's one of those words that needs to come back.
Ombudsman? I don't think it ever went away.
I think it stayed the entire time.
Yeah. Ombudsman.
Okay. But I don't need that person. I need the ethicist because I went to the car wash and I chose not to vacuum.
Okay.
Was this before or after you found the gum?
This was entirely different occasion.
Hey, we're on a tight schedule here. Can you
Multiple
not
car washes?
keep him focused here?
Yeah.
Let's go.
Different thing. I then, on a later date, went back and only vacuumed, but didn't purchase a new car wash.
Oh. So
So-
you did the free vacuum without purchasing the second car wash.
So my question is
Yeah.
free vacuum contingent on car wash purchase, or is it really just free vacuum?
Same location?
Same location.
So I think you get credit for your original purchase of the wash without vacuuming, and so you shouldn't feel bad about coming back and vacuuming at a later time. But I do think that had you not purchased the wash, you should not vacuum.
Okay, so hypothetically, if I then chose to bring a different unwashed car and then vacuum it out with the intention that at some point I am going to go back and wash that car, as long as I'm pairing vacuum with wash.
Yeah, it's always got to be a pairing.
But until you get that wash, you are a car wash center that needs to be cleansed by the car wash.
So the tunnel of soap is the confessional.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Okay.
Absolution.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm actually going to call
Maybe we
the person
go ahead.
over and I'm going to say, I see debug. I see a little attention to the undercarriage. I see no absolution.
Yeah. Is there any Our Fathers or any Hail Marys in here?
Is there any place where I can? Now, maybe that's a genius idea, is we could do car wash
washes.
confessions.
Yeah.
Where you could bippity-bop boop your way to, and as long as you get your rosaries done by the time the car is cleaned.
Yeah. Okay.
right,
you're okay. I think you're fine on an ethicist. The ethicist
we don't, the
and
ethicist can
the
resolve it.
ombudsman
They
would probably
say
both
it's
agree.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So Corey Forrester.
Groovy? Is groovy a word that needs to come back?
No.
Okay. And now I've made you have to come back and not edit out the part that we probably were going to edit out before. So go ahead and we'll get rid of the groovy part too.
I'm
Back
on
to
board
you.
with groovy, though.
As
Should
a
come
word
back.
that needs to be brought back?
I think so. Because groovy is kind of like a, chill, relax, like, yeah,
That guy's groovy. Don't worry about it.
yeah.
He's groovy.
No muskrat.
See, now you just time warped us.
Yeah. Well, you're gonna force yourself to keep the muskrat conversation in. You bring in muskrat in the intro. You're gonna have to keep the muskrat in the outro.
Yeah. There might be something about muskrats later, folks.
Yeah.
Stay tuned.
I want to tell you, if there's a word that you have not heard recently, I'm going to suggest to you muskrat is the word, because lightning round once again involves animals,
You're welcome.
and our guest has some terrific animal-based answers.
Incredible.
So I don't want to muskrat that part of the show.
Look, Sheep, we know you've been waiting all week for this. You got a good one coming up. You're
This is a good one.
gonna like this.
This is a good episode. It's a
So
lot of
get
fun.
comfy.
Learn something. Familiarize yourself with the comedians who are mentioned throughout the interview.
Yeah.
And
Let's have some fun.
let's do it.
So get the feedback on. We're gonna get going.
All right, when we're back, it is going to be Corey Ryan Forrester. Taka taka.
Don't go far.
Adam, we got a new sponsor.
All right, what do we got?
They've got one rule for us.
Okay.
In our spot, and we can't start it yet because I need to lay down the rule. We need to do this next.
So we're not. This isn't the ad yet.
No, this is not the ad yet. Okay, because the rule
Okay.
is we cannot have any U's. We cannot
No
use
U's?
the letter U in our spot.
Is
okay?
this like my cousin Vinny when he says use?
No. You can use U's.
Oh,
Okay,
like
but you
you.
can't really use because use has a U in it.
yeah.
Right. So our sponsor is called Know You, and it's all about getting to know you. But as part of their gimmick, they say no U's. So we have to start the promo now, but we cannot use the letter U at all. They don't care how long it takes or how slow we have to go, but we have to promote No You without the letter U. So Adam,
Jamie,
we have a new sponsor.
I feel great.
I'm happy for people like Adam, Jamie, and Jamie.
I want to learn about myself.
I think it's important to learn.
Oh, busted. Sorry, we just lost a sponsor.
It's all about the boot.
This is why I said Bendel should do this.
Yeah. All right. Well, don't know you.
See, you know they don't know use. You use your use as much as you need to, because I love you.
Adam, guess what?
What's up, buddy?
This episode is sponsored by the letter U.
It's ironic.
Yeah.
All right, welcome back to the podcast. I'm very excited about our guests now. As you know, you're listening to Jamie Bendel, Jamie Hernan, and Adam Haig. All right, our guest this week
subtle, right?
has been one that you guys have been looking forward to, because we've talked numerous times about having him on the show. I'm pleased to see as much success as he's been having. He's been successful on stage for many, many years, but he's really, I think, had some interesting viral experiences here during the pandemic. I'm hoping we can talk a little bit about those. And what I think is actually the hardest thing to do in comedy, which is good political writing. So welcome to the BHHcast, Mr. Corey Forrester. What's going on, buddy?
Well, I'm just flattered as hell. Thank you for that introduction. I appreciate you.
The weird thing is Bendel was kissing his biceps throughout that whole introduction.
It was weird.
Yeah.
It was weird. Yeah, he's all swollen.
Yeah, I could hear it.
Yeah.
The sheep are jumping up and down though. This has been our followers. The sheep have been begging for this one.
Oh, that makes me feel so good. Well, yeah, I'm happy to be here, guys. Thank y'all so much.
I want to start because I know this is going to go differently this episode than on some previous episodes. I'm going to launch right into a segment that we call Meat and Three.
All right.
Love it.
Meat and Three is a restaurant style that you yourself are familiar with, right, Corey?
Oh, my God. Are you kidding me? It's my favorite. I ate at a meat and three today. And not only did I eat a meat and three today, you know it's not a good meat and three until an old man stands up, has a stroke, and falls down. And that happened at the restaurant we're at. I went with my dad to a meat and three today. And they do. And he's fine, by the way. I checked because I know the owner. But an old man stood up, had a stroke, and fell down. And my dad, being the comedic genius he is, looked at me and goes, "I'll have what he's having." So, yes, I'm very familiar with meat and threes.
All right. So on our show, that hasn't been the experience of a lot of our guests. A lot of our guests have struggled with the concept of a meat and three, and it makes it that much more difficult when we talk about how we use meat and three on this show, which is, in your life, what is the meat? What is the anchor around which the rest of your life is oriented?
I mean, geez, do you mean what's my singular focus? What's the thing that gets me out of bed?
What's the meat?
Well, I mean, as I'm sure any comedian would tell you, and it's true, it's the pursuit of my career. I'm I'm a self-admitted selfish person. It's one of those things for some reason, I think that makes me a better person if I just admit that I'm super selfish. But I do feel like I'm one of those eat, live, and breathe comedian dudes. I get up, my first thought in the morning is, what am I going to write today? What am I going to create today? What am I going to do to get myself closer to crossing off things off that vision board and putting new ones up there that I didn't ever once know were possible.
There you go.
Okay,
so it's the craft.
All right.
His craft
it's a good meat.
is the meat. Yeah.
Everybody's always like family. And,
Yeah, no.
Yeah, none of that, right?
No.
Faith.
No.
Leave that stuff alone. I want to make more cash today.
Yeah. And it's not the cash, for the record. I've always, but that here's how I've always looked at that, is that I want to be a great comedian, one of the best comedians on the planet, and have at one of the best television shows that I've written, and write, and hopefully in the future direct movies that I think are the best. And a symptom of doing everything that I just said is a shit ton of money.
Okay, so the three is the three attributes that you would like most closely associated with you.
Oh, wow. Hard work. That's really important to me. It's like a pet peeve. I'm sure a lot of comedians feel that way. I really hate the stigma of oh yeah, comedians just, they sleep till 4 and then they, get up and they work for an hour a night and I know that's kind of tongue in cheek from a lot of people, but that's always bothered me. Yeah. Hard work, being genuine. I'm sure that there's a lot of people that are look at this guy putting on, he's putting on a whole show. I would like people to understand that, I do mean the things I say. I've certainly said some things I didn't mean, but I would like to be known as a genuine, hardworking. I got one more.
Yep.
I would like to be known as a genuine, hardworking, passionate guy. And maybe those are the same thing. I don't know, but those are the things that pop up in my. That's all. That's what I try to be.
Those are good.
All right, those are good ones.
Yeah, those are solid.
I like it. All right, so now let's talk a little bit about the where we find ourselves today. We are in the early part of 2021. We're on the dawn of a new administration, which typically marks a new comedic era.
Yeah, for sure.
Talk a little bit about the transition from the 2015, 2016 time period and how that tracks with the 2020, 2021 time period.
Well, I definitely probably have a singular experience in that, just because the Donald Trump coming into office also coincided with me, my buddy, Trey Crowder. I'm sure y'all know Trey, makes this video that goes viral, which had nothing to do with Donald Trump, by the way, at all. And because of that, we were able to launch a tour. And luckily, we had all been doing stand-up long enough to where when we go on this tour, people go, oh, wow, they actually are good. And we were able to keep the tour going. Whereas if, I think if it'd been one of them situations where nobody was like, hey, let's try to make comedians out of these guys, you wouldn't be talking to me right now. Like, that wouldn't be happening. And so that's how my 2016 started. And it's like, oh, and now here's Trump. And here's how that worked for me. I had never in my life, in a million years, considered myself a political comedian. Now, I'd always kind of touched on social topics, and the only reason that I had is because I found out early on that, hey man, you've kind of got a mindset on certain things that doesn't match the accent that you have. That was kind of pointed out to me, and I was like, oh, well, I mean, I'm not trying to have a shtick. It's just that is who I am, so why not be different? Everybody, in entertainment, they're always like, oh, we're always looking for something different. And I found that takes about 17 years to realize. And so that's how that started. I was like, oh, wow, I think I know how to kind of touch on these political things. And I think maybe I'm opening up a new vessel of my creativity. And so for the next 4.5 years, it was kind of like, I don't want to say playing with a corked bat, because it's definitely, I mean, when we're going on tour, our fans, we sold out so many of our shows. And when you sell out a show and it's people who knew who you were before you get there, that was my first experience with that. Whereas used to, it's I go to a club, and whether I'm featuring a headline or whatever, there's a great chance that a lot of people there don't know me. And so you perform comedy different that way. Mm-hmm. When you go in there and everybody knows you and everybody's read your book and everybody is waiting with a Sharpie for you to sign it, you can sort of fuck around a little bit and you have a little bit more grace. And so the Trump years were really, I mean, I ain't gonna lie, they were great to me. I wish that it wasn't that way, but I tried about year 2 of the Trump administration. I started going, okay, you know what? I'm opening this show. I know these people came here because they think it's just a shit on Trump show, but I'm not going to say his name. I'm going to see if I can just get these people to like my regular comedy. And I did, which ended up making for a great transition to our current state, which to me, everybody was, hell, y'all know, it was like, oh, you comedians are going to miss Donald Trump. This has been the biggest relief for me in the world, is him being gone. Because, it's not like Donald Trump left and so did every socio-political problem in the world that I could possibly comment on. But he's gone, so that's great.
So I think that there was as it happens today, the president has announced that it is his intention to have all troops withdrawn from Afghanistan by 9/11, which will be the 20th anniversary of the attack on the World Trade Center.
Right.
What a politically hilarious date to pick, but I'm for it.
Well, I think that there's a significance, right, of saying, and part of it is this shift from the idea that if you're always moving the goalposts, it's very hard to finish the game.
Right. We've been engaged in this thing for 20 years now. Right?
Sure.
So
whatever we're
I'm
doing,
picturing, not to break
stop.
into your question, but I'm picturing he goes to the military and he says, when can we get out of Afghanistan? They're like, probably September 15th, September 16th. He's like, you know what?
Right.
You can do better.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Come on.
I don't think that's where the date came from.
I
think
it instead was he walked in, probably kicked the door open, and said, here's the deal. I need everything gone.
Yeah.
By this day.
So where were you
going?
going?
We're going to make no mistake. Well, so what I think that there's an argument that can be made that there is some significance about this transition to trying to get back. We're in COVID times, and we're talking about we want to get back to regular life.
Yeah.
I think there was something that began politically, really in the aftermath of
9/11?
September 11th.
Yeah.
Oh, for sure.
That we're still seeing kind of the ripples from And I think that it manifests itself in a little bit of what you guys experienced in that weird post-Obama, early Trump period where there were people who didn't necessarily have the kind of outlet that they wanted to talk about their political frustrations that I think you guys were exactly positioned to tap into.
Sure. And and I'll be honest with you, like I didn't realize, and I mean, when I say this, please know that I'm only quoting just other people who have said it to me. But like, I genuinely, when our tour started, I didn't realize that we were going to be kind of, at least in a Southern way, a cultural phenomenon. And like, because literally they're like, I can't tell you how many, like the first 4 or 5 people that came up to me and said, man, you have no idea how alone I felt until I discovered you guys. The first 4 or 5 people, I was like, man, this dude's full of shit. You know, but when it's over 5 years, thousands of people. And then also when I go, actually, truth be told, I knew Drew and Trey and I knew that we felt this way. But until we started selling out, when we started selling out shows, I swear to God, I was like, wait a minute, hold on. Do they know who we are? Like, or really in North Carolina, 1,000 people are coming to see us and they know what we're going to say. They're like, yeah. Right. And I'm like, holy fuck. Okay. Like, damn, we were right.
You're like, we got 1,000 people in North Carolina that are okay with this.
Did you ever have someone come up to you that you're like, look, I know I'm supposed to be, believe that anybody with any accent can, buy into what I'm selling, but I just I don't buy it with you. Like the QAnon spy,
you're really
plant.
Working for us, right?
Right.
Dude, I swear, man, like it really is a fucked up thing that I have to work on all the time where like I see people who look and sound exactly like me and I go, I know what this dude's about,
Right.
And I'm like, but how can you do that because it makes me so mad when I'm in West Palm Beach, when we're doing a show in West Palm Beach and I feel those eyes on me and I hear the whispers. I'm like, man, this is fucking bullshit. But it's like, dude, you do it too. You know that we've earned this reputation.
That's right. So one of the things I think is interesting you brought up is that when you talked about the fact that you guys had done stand-up before and how important that was when you started your tour. Because I think in the world we live in with social media and things going viral and making these, really, someone can put an incredibly funny video up and become known by 1 million people overnight. Right. And I think there's a lot of people who say we want to jump on that kid's momentum or that video, that creator's momentum and do something with them. And they kind of put their hands behind the guy and then find out there's nothing else there. Right. Like, it was funny. It was a funny video and we can probably sell, tickets to, first couple venues just on the video alone. But after that, if there's not substance, you're just done.
Oh, for sure. I mean, they talked about it in the, what was it? The comedian, the Jerry Seinfeld documentary, him and Orny Adams that Colin Quinn was talking about. He's like, we all love Jack Nicholson, but if Jack Nicholson got up there and started talking, we'd give him about 5 minutes because we like him. And then after that, we'd be like, okay, Jack, where's the fucking punchline? You know what I mean? Right. Come on, buddy. Again, we did do stand-up before all of this. Like, I've been doing stand-up for 12 years before Trey put that video out. And we also already had a manager, and it was the same manager. But if we didn't have her at the time, I guarantee you, when Trey put that video out, and actually there were, it's just that they got, fly swatted off, like, nope, we've already got a manager. That would have just been like, hey, that didn't know anything about Trey other than that he got 25 million views on a video and would have been like, I can set you up, kid. And They wouldn't have at all been thinking about the long term. They would have been like, I don't give a shit what this dude's doing in a year. I can make 25 grand in 2 months off of him. So we're going to do that. But like, we were very lucky that we had we'd put the reps in. So like, again, I can't tell you how invaluable it was that the first show that we did together, all of us, number one, there's 3 of us, so we can do 30, 30, 30 instead of anyone having to do an hour. And all of us had a pretty tight, had been working it out for years, 30. And it made people go, oh, damn, we'll definitely come back to see that again. And they did.
I think we've got members of our flock, the sheep, who are trying to do the reverse math, saying, wait, they can make $25,000 off of 2 months.
Yeah, right.
The agent fee is this. Oh, they're doing pretty well.
Yeah,
all
it's
right.
pretty good. But yeah. I think I think it's also interesting the other side of that, like the people that aren't you and the people who we live in a weird time now where there are individuals that are getting that quick fame and that quick
Yeah.
hit, and then being left on the sidelines, right? Like, so that
Right.
they don't have, and can you imagine kind of, that's gotta suck, right? I mean,
Oh, for
to
sure.
be like, okay, they love me, and and everybody loves me, and I'm so much attention, and then you try and come up with that next one, you just don't have it, right? And you're left on the sidelines where you're kind of like, yeah, the world doesn't love me.
Well,
That's-
the trick is, I think, though, from a comedic standpoint, right? Do you feel like it's easier for you to write now, or in some respects, has it become harder for you to write now?
That's a really good question. I'm writing so much differently right now. For the past year and a half, I've written so much differently because I went from, like, when I'm writing for the road, like when I'm doing a bit, there's absolutely no time limit on how long this bit can be. If it's like if a bit is funny for 15 minutes, then that bit can be 15 minutes long. It doesn't matter. And so that's how, like, when I'm on the road, I don't write. I mean, I do write, but I kind of write on stage. Like, what happens to me usually is I think of the punchline and then I work myself backwards to like a pretty decent setup. And then I go, all right, well, here's how I get into it. And then this middle part, we'll just kind of word vomit for the first couple sets. And then you'll know what to take out the next set. And then here we go. Well, now with a year and a half of pretty much my entire outlet being YouTube videos and Twitter, specifically Twitter, because that's what I kind of got bigger on, is the first time in my life my brain going, this has to be 2 minutes and 20 seconds long.
Right.
You know, like, and so it's changed the way I've written, but I've definitely, like, I guess it's just like if you have a video that does really, really super well, like when you're on the road and you write a good joke, you're like, cool, I can do this exact same joke tomorrow night when we get to Knoxville. And then I can do it when we get to Nashville, and I can do this same shit for 6 months. Well, on Twitter, that does not work.
Right.
You got to bring new shit all the time. And so you kind of have to find that balance of, like, okay, just because I posted something yesterday doesn't mean I have to post something today. Like I had a pretty successful video yesterday. I'll give myself 2 or 3 days break and be like, well done. And then think, like, definitely don't come off the heels of that really good thing with some just piss poor bullshit just because you think you have to put it out.
I think that the sort of expectation is that comedians were kind of hoping that Trump would win because, there would be just all that additional material. It seems to me like maybe the insurrection, they're like, all right, I'll write
this is getting dangerous.
Yeah, I'll come up with something different.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, look, I'm not just trying to get woke points. I swear to God, I never had that thought. And my thought genuinely was like, look, man, if Trump loses and because of that, you don't have a career, then you weren't going to have one anyways.
Right.
And because I was done talking about him specifically. And yeah, that's just how I felt it. Because, like, I all jokes aside, I genuinely believe that he was bad for the country. And I also, like, I had, like, as much self-deprecating as comedians try to be, and me especially, like, I still do have a fairly high opinion of myself. I don't think that I think any comedian that's like, no, I don't think anything of myself at all. It's like, really, 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 you just think, but I'll still get up in front of 500 people
Right.
and talk.
I'm
like,
not
get
that
the fuck
interesting,
outta
but
here.
I'll waste 500 people's time.
Well,
Yeah, get
so
the fuck out of here.
Yeah.
Right.
So
You love yourself.
I've actually had the conversation with people before about the fact that you are a comic has one job, and it's to produce one response.
Right.
That's it. It's not like you have the option of I can make them think and I can make them cry and I can make them whatever. They basically say, hey, everybody, we have strangers on the other side of this curtain, and we need somebody to go stand out there all by themselves behind the microphone and produce one thing.
Right.
In fact, the same thing out of all of them. And every meeting goes, oh, I got this.
Yeah, right.
I got it right. Exactly.
And so you have to be a little bit full of yourself to say, I
Dude,
can
I'm
do
so
that.
full of my fucking self.
I can
And
make
that's my
people do
thing.
what I want them to do. Yeah.
Yes, and I'm enough full of myself that it never, like, I was always like, dude, I don't give a fuck who you make president. I'll be fine. Like, I'll figure it out. Like, I figured this out. I mean, dude, when I started comedy, Bush was a president. I've seen some presidents for being as young as I am in comedy. Like, I just, again, it would be completely disingenuous to say that Donald Trump being elected president and and all the other things surrounding what I just said meant for the country and the complete tonal shift didn't help my career, I'm not going to sit there and lie to you and say that's not true. That's 100% true. But I just look at it as like, yep, well, right place, right time. But you got to, in that time, show a lot of people that otherwise wouldn't have seen you what you can do. And now you just got to keep doing that shit and fuck whoever's in office.
Vandal, you going to just keep us in suspense as to what that one thing is they're supposed to produce?
I think it's a laugh.
I think if it wasn't self-evident in the discussion, you'd be a shitty audience member.
Yeah.
Right? Like,
Come on, sheep, wake up.
Oh, no,
Wake up,
I just wanted to make sure I was doing it right.
They don't need
no,
show.
you're not doing it
No,
right.
you got
Yeah,
it. Good.
yeah,
I'm actually pretty proud of you. You figured that one out all on your own.
I didn't know if it's like Irish River dance or...
No, laugh.
Oh, damn.
Just laugh. It's just laugh. It is always laugh.
But-
I'm just looking back on a lot of experiences that were really embarrassing that I didn't realize at the time, but now that I realize it...
You didn't even know what you were supposed to be doing?
No, I was way off.
I was
Right.
trying to do something else.
Yeah, you have a lot of that. I mean, you have a lot of that gumption that thinks you can do stuff that you can't really do.
Yeah.
No.
For the record, I think that you can also make people think and cry while you're making them laugh. But you are correct. The laugh has to be there. Otherwise, I go, you're not a stand-up comedian. You are a TED talker, and that's fine. If you're doing that and you're selling tickets, I don't give a shit what you do. But there's some people out there. I'm not going to say their names because I'm not going to ever shit on anyone who's making a living talking because they're still at least somehow related to me in a way. But the laughs do have to be there. You can't just everybody goes oh yeah, George Carlin was just up there telling the truth. I'm like, yeah, the truth with a punchline.
But to your point, Coy, too, I think if Hillary Clinton gets elected, I think your humor's still there, right? I think
for sure.
That, honestly, what we're seeing is something that's been there for a long time, right? And there are this political and this kind of there's a side of America that has been there for a long time, and Trump may have put a big exclamation point on it, but one. He didn't do it. It was there before him, and and he's gone, and it's still there.
Well,
right? And
I think that there are comedians often, and you see it sometimes in a set where the first joke will be a combination of "Hi, my name is so and so. I'm a thus and such and a thus and such and a thus and such, which makes me a thus and such." Right. And it's kind of the 90-second whatever. Pitch to a sitcom, right? Why would this person be an interesting sitcom? And a lot of that is based on identification. I think that one of the things that I'll be curious to see is most comedy, not all, but most comedy is predicated on the fiction that we're not really talking about any of us.
Right.
We're talking about those people not at the show.
Right.
Yeah.
Nobody in here.
Nobody in
Right.
here.
When I say that people are stupid, there's no way I'm talking to the 2,500 people at Austin City Limits tonight.
Right. You guys are all
There's
brilliant.
no way I'm calling any of y'all. None of y'all are included in everyone.
Right.
Yeah, you're right.
But there are some comedians who don't take that approach. And they say, when I say people are stupid, I'm
you.
looking directly at you.
Right. Yeah, I don't do that.
But there are some people who do, and there are some people who do it very successfully. I think what we find ourselves in right now is people who maybe voted. So pick any time period where there have been comedians making fun of leaders.
Yeah.
Right? And there may have been a court jester in medieval times.
I was going to say.
Yeah, I was about to say,
forever.
so since the dawn of time.
Yeah.
Right? Has been trying to slide in some jokes at the expense of whoever the leader was.
That's right.
Right? But I don't know that there has been as much, perhaps, personal identification with the person you voted for.
Right.
As there is presently. And so when a comedian says when the comedian says those people out there, sometimes people are hearing it in the room as saying, oh, you mean me, because I voted for that guy.
Right. Yeah.
And I'll be curious to see how long that continues.
I'm just thinking about your historic comedian right now, talking about the leader. I'm thinking of Genghis Khan's comedian that kind of went around like that guy was scared out of his mind, right? He's like, Genghis is going to do horrible shit to me,
Right.
My head is coming off, but I'm going to get these jokes in, right? Or was there a Hitler? Was there Hitler comedians in World War II, right? I mean, were there somebody in Germany going, what's with Adolf, huh? I mean, this guy's out of control. I think he just burned down this the government building.
I got to tell you, there are some times when we do this show, and I think, it's a shame nobody will ever hear that.
There's other times when you're just so happy.
That'll be a great example of when this episode actually finally posts. It'll be some conversation of Genghis Khan, and then it will be quickly into saying,
do you guys remember the
So the Hitler thing went too far. Yeah, okay.
All right. So here I have a question. You mentioned a bit recently that did well. I'm thinking perhaps that was sort of a parodied commercial.
Yeah.
For the stereotypical candidate.
Yes, that was it.
Yeah. Is that an example of something where when you go back to doing a live show, do you repurpose that to talk about political commercials generally?
Probably. I think there's definitely some line, because like the way that video came to me was exactly the way a regular bit would come to me. And by that, I mean, here's how that video came to me. At 4:30 in the morning, I had to pee. And as I'm getting up to pee, the line came to me in my head was, I've never worn a mask because I want my wife to be able to see my face when I tell her she's not allowed to wear pants. And I just thought that was so funny and stupid. And then I was like, that definitely sounds like something Tommy Tuberville would have said in his campaign video. And then I thought of another one while I was peeing, and I was like, all right, well, we're not going to bed. And I got on my porch and I wrote it. And then I waited for 7:30 to get there, so I knew I'd have really good lighting. And then I just filmed it, and I was editing it by 8:30, and then it was up by like 9. So yeah, I definitely think that there's a world where I go back on tour and I have a bit that is, gerrymander ends up becoming a Larry the Cable Guy type character. But I mean, obviously, please understand that I wouldn't just change my name to Gerrymander and fucking tour with it. Even though that I'm glad. No disrespect to Larry, because I will defend Larry the Cable Guy till the death. But like, yeah, I can definitely see me breaking into that every now and then.
Do you now drink extra water before you go to bed at night, just so you get up at 4:30 morning?
Yeah.
I don't have to, trust me, but yeah.
All right, so you want to do a little bit of quick lightning round with us? We do some lightning round questions.
Yeah.
All right. These are intended to be thought-provoking, but with short answers.
Okay.
All right. And the guest always gets to decide whether they're going to go clockwise or counterclockwise in the answering of these questions.
Just be careful here, because it's pretty significant difference.
Clockwise.
Clockwise.
Okay,
all right.
you heard him.
Going clockwise, starting
That's what we're doing.
with Jamie.
What is the largest farm animal that you would use as a lookout on a bank robbery?
Oh, alpaca.
If you could have a superpower, what would it be?
Invisibility.
Yep.
Use one word to describe your bride.
Mad.
Man. Okay.
No.
Yeah,
mad.
she's mad as
I
fuck.
thought you
She's
said
mad.
man.
Yeah.
I was like, okay.
No, she is mad right now, and I don't blame her.
He is liberal.
Mad.
Yeah.
What is the largest animal that you would trust if you were robbing the Nakatomi Tower as the one that's in the basement cracking the secret codes?
Oh, so Die Hard. The animal that I would trust. Largest animal that I would trust.
Any animal. Any man. Yeah, I don't want to restrict your creative thoughts.
I think a mink. I think they could get in there.
Nice.
All right.
You know what I mean? They're
yeah.
like a mink to me is like if you cross a rat with a snake. And I feel like that's exactly what you want in a hijacking, heisting situation.
Code breaking kind of scenario.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Obligatory follow-up question, is Die Hard a Christmas movie?
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely it is.
Would you rather have a little pee in your mouth or a little poop in your nose?
A little pee in my mouth. That's fine.
Okay.
I've definitely had that.
Sure.
Strength or cardio?
I'd rather have cardio.
What animal would you most like?
What is the problem with these animal
Can
questions?
I finish the question before you?
Okay.
What animal would you most like to recreate the pottery scene from the movie Ghost with?
Oh, a sloth. Because it'd be like real slow and hilarious. And it's got the arms for it. A sloth could get its arms around any lady.
So are you in front or
No,
behind?
it's speed round.
Oh, damn it.
If you could eat only one ethnic food for the rest of the year, what would you pick?
Ramen noodles, without question. Okay, then I'm going to be fat. Yeah, it's still that. No, chips and salsa. Nope, then I don't have protein. Fuck me. Jesus, that's great. Bulgogi bowl.
Bulgogi bowl.
Bulgogi bowl. What is the
Last one. This is where we close it.
What is the best gift you've ever been given?
The gift of love.
Oh.
I'm fucking kidding. It was a Nintendo 64.
Yeah! Gift of love.
The gift
crazy.
of love. There was a time. Do you fight with your spouse ever?
Never.
I'm doing this podcast from my porch. So you tell me.
Okay. So I was fighting with my spouse on an occasion, and we were fighting about money.
What? You guys fight about money?
Mm-hmm. And my wife says, "You knew what you were getting into when you married me. It's basically buyer beware." So I responded and said, "Yes, that's true. It's just that some days I wish I had kept my receipt."
Well played, sir.
Which I thought was awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, if she's already mad, you may as well get them licks in. That's how I feel.
I'm like, I can't. This is too good not to say. Like, this is the absolutely correct response in the moment.
She had to appreciate that, though, the comedic value of that, right?
She actually was kind enough to explain that she would come with a healthy restocking fee. And I thought, okay.
Oh, that's pretty funny.
All right.
I think that my
counterpoint.
My most recent relationships have to do with the full on like waiver of liability that like Corey brought up at the beginning, where he says, "Hey, I'm selfish about my career, and so if I end up being a jerk to you, you knew it, right?"
Right.
My wife often says, "I'm in a bad mood today," right? And that's not an excuse to be horrible the rest of the day, like to be like but it is like there's an implied waiver that goes on in our house that says, "Hey, I'm in a bad mood, so I can now be as horrible as I want to you because I told you in the beginning that I was in a bad mood." That's not okay.
I have a really bad habit of like when I'm in a bad mood and I like my wife says something and maybe let's say hypothetically when I snapped at her for this particular thing, maybe I was in the right. I have a very bad habit of over tagging it and then just keep going, and like in the middle of it I realize like, oh, now you're the bad one. And then, like, sometimes out loud, I swear to God, I'll just be like, I'm very, it's like that scene in Kenny Powers. It's like, I know I'm being a fucking asshole right now. I can't quit. I'm fucking sorry. You pissed me off. Like, I get that way. It's like my brain is going so much, or my mouth is going so much faster than my brain. And my wife has told me that I have the habit, and I guess this is because I said I live and breathe and die comedy, of like, I talk to her in bits. And like I respond to when I'm arguing with her, I argue with her in a way that is how I would say it later on stage.
Right. Do you ever pull out a notebook and just write a note down? You're like, oh, that's actually pretty good. Time out.
Hold on a second. Like that was a good one.
well, because I'm a millennial, I pull out my phone. But yes, same sentiment. Yes.
I know that Jamie's relationship's like that. There's a lot of bits that are being done in your home.
All the time.
Oh,
yeah,
so
in almost every discussion.
I do it all the time.
Are you picking
every
fights
time a boy
just
comes
to work out material?
Yeah, every time a boy comes to the house for one of those daughters, it's a bit.
Well, it is. I think it is a big transition when you start to hear
the comedy in your life.
Well, you hear the comedy in your life, but I think it's also easier than ever to see what's passing for comedy in other people's lives by some of the stuff that is kind of viral. So
for sure.
Right. And I kind of think you have to strike a balance between what are my original thoughts on that and not stepping on the meme that they've seen 100 times already.
For sure, man. There's definitely that balance you have to strike of like, what do the people want versus I'm supposed to give them something they don't know they want yet.
Right.
If that makes any sense without me sounding like I'm getting way too far up my own ass.
No. I think so I've actually probably followed people who are creating things as much to try to figure out what to stay away from in some respects.
Yeah.
I mean, Corey, you can go ahead and say whatever you want. Don't worry about getting up your own ass. You did start the conversation with, you're going to be career focused and you could be a little bit full of yourself prick.
Right.
So it's a full waiver for the rest of the conversation. You're totally
for sure.
good.
And I forget that I'm talking to a bunch of comics here. Because like the last several podcasts I've done have been like, we're not Rachel Nightingale, but we hope to be one day. And so like, I'm just always like, I don't know if what I'm thinking is how you're supposed to think as a human, or you know what I mean? Like, to me, like I don't know if I'm even at the level I'm at, which is not like, dude, I'm so many rungs down from where I want to be. But I would, but like at the same time, like I'm a successful comedian, and for the past 5.5 years, I have only comedy has paid my bills. I have a nice house. All my cars are paid off. I have a fucking golf cart. I buy my niece clothes whenever she wants them. To me, that's still successful. Mm-hmm. But like when I think of people who are detached from reality, I think of like, The Rock, Kevin Hart, these like dudes that like they've been at such a level of success for so long. Oprah, that type. But then I go, dude, even you who honestly is living a pretty kind of normal life, because that normal life monetarily has been spent in the complete pursuit of the arts for so long, and that you've had a singular focus on that, you still don't know what in the absolute fuck you're talking about as it pertains to normal human behavior.
Right.
So that's all I meant.
I get in the car. You've probably had a similar experience. The show's over. I assume the rest of my peer group is awake and doing stuff.
Right, yeah.
Yeah.
And I realize casually now, talking to friends, they mean legitimately, oh, I was asleep at 9:30 last night. And I'm like,
right.
What, who are you?
Right. You're like, hold on a second. I was actually pulling into the bar to say for our last nightcap before I went home at 1 a.m.
Yeah. Assuming everybody else is awake. Right. And I'm like, why are you not replying to me?
Looking at my
what
friends
are you doing?
Like, Adam, come over to the bar. And I'm like, Jamie, I've been asleep for 3 hours.
Wait, Target is closed?
Yeah.
And it's not even that though, like, because like honestly during the pandemic, at least, like, because my wife's a teacher, like I bare minimum get up at the same time she does, which is like she gets up at 6:45. But honestly, usually I beat like me when I said me getting up at 4:30 and have an idea, that's not abnormal. I too go to bed at like 9:30. But like when I go to bed, when my buddies go to bed at 9:30, it's because they're like, yeah, I got to be at the factory, yada yada yada. Right. For me, it's like I like to go to bed at 9:30 because I'm the most creative in the morning, and I can get all my shit done by like all my creative shit done by lunch, and then get fucking stone cold blazed out of my mind and go walk in the park and then come up with the ideas for tomorrow. And like they don't like sometimes my buddies will be like, oh, I've fucking been super depressed lately, and I'm like, you know what you need to do? Here's what I do. I walk for 3.5 hours every day in the park, and they're like, yeah, none of us can do that. And I'm like, oh yeah, you're right. You know what I mean? You can do that. Like,
you're right.
Yeah. However, it does work. You should try it.
Yeah. If you ever get a chance, maybe if you just did that, then you'd have a better life.
Yeah, be careful about losing touch with that comment, man. Jamie did that at birth, where like, because we've had an earlier podcast where he had he was, as a little kid, was meeting Phil Simms. He had a Mickey Mantle baseball that he had signed by Phil. So and that didn't seem amazing to Jamie. It was just like, this is a regular day. He also talked, the story came up because he told us about why he doesn't like chocolate mousse, right? So as a little kid, he was eating prime rib and he got sick on the chocolate mousse. So he's lost perspective a long time ago. So don't worry about you losing perspective with the common man. Like Mr. Jamie over here is not the guy to preach to about that. As Mr. Town Car outside waiting for him right now.
I'm saying that if you are struggling managing anxiety in your life, and you can't find the time to walk for 3 hours in the local park,
right?
Start off with an hour and a half.
Yeah,
that's true. Now that is true. You can do like I will say this, like as much out of touch with reality. There's so many people that they go, I don't have the time to do this, and it's like, yes, you do. Just don't watch reruns of New York NYPD Blue. Take that time to do a different thing.
Yeah.
Take 2 hours for Game of Thrones. Yeah, you can do this.
Yeah, like there are times when like I know that I have a different lifestyle, but somebody will tell me, they're like, I really wish, like, oh man, like I want to get into writing, and I go, okay, well, write. And they're like, I just don't have time. You don't understand. I have a regular job, and I'm like, what do you do when you get home from your regular job? And they're like, well, I sit on the couch, watch the Sports Center. I go, well, cut that shit out. And they're like, well, I can't cut that shit out. And I go, well, then guess what, motherfucker? You don't want to write.
Yeah, you're not a writer. Yeah, right.
You just like, here's what you like to do. You like to say that you want to write. That's what you like to do. And that's fine. That's totally fucking okay. But like, trust me, there is enough time in the day for you to do, at least start attempting the thing that you want to do. I promise you that there is.
That's right.
I think you should text all your friends when you're like 2.5 hours into your walk and just say,
oh, I do. I do.
I'm 2.5 hours in.
How's
what
the
you
factory
doing?
going, guys?
Dude, trust me, I fucking do. I promise you I do. All the time.
You guys
all
had a break
the time.
yet? No? Okay, I'm still 3 hours into my walk.
I have time.
Dude, my buddies always tell me, they're like, dude, they'll be like, we love following you on Instagram and Facebook and Twitter because we live vicariously through you. And I do the complete opposite, where I live like unvicariously through them. Like I'll text them during the day to see how shitty their day is, and just be like, "Yep, still got it."
Yep.
Still got it.
Still made the right decision on this comedy thing.
Yeah.
Woo!
Yeah,
Why are you
don't have fun
texting me?
at college.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So you've kind of talked about a little bit about your creative process. We've discussed numerous times on the show here about the bit that every comedian has that they really like, and for whatever reason, the audience is not on board with it. It's like a broken bit, and I always tell it's usually the jokes that the comedian resorts to when they've bailed on a set.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they're like, all right, I'm cracking this out because I know this one is for me.
There's 3 guys in the back of the room that
That,
think this is funny.
right.
They'll take it.
Or will think it's funny because I'm going to try this again, and it's also not going to fly tonight.
Right.
So do you have an example of a broken bit that you have that you like, you know it works, and for whatever reason it's just not resonating with the audience the way you want it to?
Yeah, I have a whole half-hour special that I filmed full of them. It seems like, but no, I had, like, when we were doing our last tour, I had a bit about me and my wife, and this might be very specific to our tour just because of who our fans are, but I had a whole bit, like, me and my wife had just gotten married, and we went to Sandals, Jamaica, or one of the fucking Sandals. I'm sure that they're all very different. I don't know if you can tell by my inflection there, but I didn't choose this. And so I had this bit about it, and in it, I sort of trashed my wife, and I could definitely, and by feel, I mean the audience afterwards was definitely like letting me know. They're like, "Hey man, I thought you were like the feminist, blah 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 blah," and I said, "Oh well, here's where you're misunderstanding me. I didn't say all women want to go to a stupid fucking resort. I said my wife wants to go to a stupid fucking resort." And that's true. I'm speaking from my personal experience. And so, like, just on our tour, there's so many times that, like, when I deviate, not necessarily from politics specifically, but, like, from maybe something a little bit, because what I do is, it's not always necessarily politics. It's like, hey, take this heavy thing and make it super goofy. You know what I mean? Add a wrestling belt to it, take your shirt off. And the second that I kind of just go on, like, I start doing a bit that maybe Ray Romano would try to do, because at the end of the day, y'all know, no comedian really gives a shit what their shtick is. If they think it's something that's funny, they're going to try it. And it's just kind of always, I guess my answer really is so many bits. so just so fucking many that I'm like, that, like, I'll think of, and I'll have like a punchline, and like in the back, I'll say it to Trey, and he's like, dude, that's go do that. And I do it, and it bombs. And then I'm like, and he's like, you know why it bombed? I mean, it bombed because, you know, there was a fucking police shooting today, and they thought you'd talk about that. And I'm like, damn it, you're right. And then I'm like, all right, I'm opening it with it next time. I'm like, you're so defiant. And I will say, though, like, that's kind of the way. Like, if you want to take a bit that nobody gives a shit about and make it work, just do it out of spite a million fucking times, and eventually you can find it.
I would like to hear you do a bit about Ray Romano's twins.
They're here, then they're not here. Where'd they go? I had a bit one time about how it's bullshit that women breastfeed. This never worked on tour, but I want to bring it back. It was a bit about how I don't understand how women breastfeeding in public is even remotely a divisive issue, because, like, where are we divided on it? Like, there's only so many types of human beings on Earth. You've got you've got women who obviously should be for it because that's their titty. You've got men who obviously should be for it because that's a titty. Then you've got gay dudes who should be for it because y'all are supposed to be women's best friend. That's what you were put here for. And so, like, I just don't get it. And then I had this whole thing of, like, maybe it's because I just turned 33 and I'm not just seeing titties pop out left and right, but any fucking titty is welcome. And I don't really give a fuck if there's a baby attached to it. As a matter of fact, if I squint, it looks like there's 3 of them. And and it just always rubbed our crowds the wrong way. And I think I'm just going to keep trying to force it on them because I just love doing it. Yeah, because at the end of the day, I'm like, I'm doing pro breastfeeding material. What do you people want? I don't know why I turned into Seinfeld there. Come on, who are these people?
Maybe it's the word you're describing the breast. Maybe you just each time use a different term.
But yeah, booby might be a little bit softer than titty.
Yeah, the hard T is just.
Yeah, you're right.
It
might be the hard T.
Oh, so it was just there was a phonetic error in in this making this piece work.
Isn't it funny how that's so often the case though? Like you'll do a whole bit and you're like, nobody gets it, and then you change one word and it's not even like you just put a synonym in for a word and all of a sudden it's your best bit. It's the weirdest thing.
So I do a stupid joke about giving one of the dogs CPR. And
we know which dog you'd give CPR.
Yes, there is one dog that I would
he
give
has a
CPR
good dog
to.
and a bad
the
dog.
The other
Corey.
dog, I would be like, are you having a hard time?
I don't have a mask.
Too bad it didn't work out for you.
Are you struggling? Oh, that's a shame. And so I don't recall.
If our last episode didn't get the ASPCA on us,
this
that
one will.
I don't recall what was the genesis of the idea that you could take a dog CPR class. And I assumed it was a fiction. And then today, for the first time, I got a notice for an actual pet CPR class that somebody's teaching that you can register and go. And when I first looked at the graphic, I thought that among the things that they were going to, there was a cat, there was a dog, there was a rabbit, and then I thought there was a fish. And it made me chuckle that if I was ever in the position of having to rescue a fish by giving it CPR, I was likely the reason why it was struggling for air.
Right.
Maybe you shouldn't continue to fish.
And
I'm that worried about the fish. Yeah.
And I just had this funny idea of like, I'm not ever going to give a fish mouth-to-mouth resuscitation because I'm like, I don't want a bloody face.
Yeah,
like I don't like. I had this whole, and of course the graphic was wrong. But that when I initially looked at it, and I was like, maybe I should figure out how to throw this in.
Yeah.
Just from the conceptual standpoint of when you've injured the victim that needs resuscitation, to be like, oh my God, I totally knocked that guy out at the bar. Don't worry about it.
In fact,
no CPR.
That's the sport I participate in. I came fishing today. Yeah.
That reminds me of that Dale Jones bit a little bit, but it's coming from the other side where he was talking about, Dale Jones was talking about watching fishing on TV, and he's like, can you imagine watching a fucking fishing show? Like how boring that'd be. And he's like, and these dudes, they don't even eat the fish. They catch the fish, then they throw the fish back in the water. He goes, can you imagine any other scenario where you do that? Can you imagine a hunter shooting a deer and then running out in the woods and giving the deer CPR going, don't you die on me!
I gotta get him back into nature.
At least one of those people going to the animal CPR class will be there for the wrong reason.
Oh, I'm sorry. You just now reminded me. This whole thing was me stepping on your joke about CPR.
No, that was the other Jamie. That was Jamie. That's his. He tries to have one comedic contribution to show.
Yeah, that was good.
Dude, all white people sound alike.
So true. Especially when they're both named
Jamies. Yeah. I'm very, very happy for the success that you guys are experiencing.
Well, thank you very much. I really appreciate that.
I noticed this at the beginning of the interview that I had forgotten to put the SD card into the board, but I didn't want to interrupt.
Yeah,
can we start over?
Yeah, we're gonna go ahead.
Hey, that's fine.
From the top.
I got time.
Oh, come on.
Because I mean, you're already in the doghouse anyhow, right? So let's go ahead and cook this bird.
All right, real quick. For those who are less familiar, your preferred place where people go find you.
just go to CoreyRyanForrester.com because it's got everything on there, and I did that so that this part of any podcast would be quicker.
All right. Well, continued success. Hopefully see you soon, and hopefully the venues get bigger.
Can I come do 5 minutes?
So listen, we do signups.
You fucking piece of shit.
Anytime. We're open. So you want to take a run down anytime you want to come down. We'd be happy to see you.
Okay, I'll holler at you. I got your number because I'm currently talking to you on it.
That's right. All right, man. Continued success.
All right, y'all. Thank y'all for having me on.
Thanks, Corey.
Thanks,
You did, my
Corey.
friend.
Later, y'all.
All right, bye. All right, Corey Ryan Forrester. I'm like I said, I'm really happy to see his success. I would make the suggestion, if we want to just do show notes.
Here we go.
Okay.
Stay positive.
This is a stay positive,
Okay, good.
right? I embrace the idea of animal-based icebreaker questions,
Okay.
lightning round questions.
Okay.
Now, see, if Bendel actually listened to the last episode, which we know he didn't,
I haven't. I would tell you, I haven't. I make no secret of the fact that I had not yet listened to
We
the.
literally
because we
have
know you-
thousands of people listening to it, but you can't trouble yourself.
and because we know that you don't remember the episode as soon as you walk out the door,
true. That's also
you
true.
will be surprised to hear our guests say those animal questions were the highlight of my show.
He was being sarcastic, but that's all right.
Yeah,
So that's
yeah,
okay.
That's okay.
That's okay.
Okay. And that may have been overdubbed. It's possible that you overdubbed that in.
It is in Spanish.
Well, what I
But
don't
yeah,
like
sure.
is he says, you know, those animal questions are the best highlight of the show.
Yeah, it doesn't flow right. But so I like the concept of the animal question. Right?
Yeah.
But if it's going to go as an animal question, then Adam can't give you a hard time for asking the animal questions during the animal question.
Yeah. I'm going to give you a hard time about the animal questions. So we're
Right.
probably
So there's
kill it.
there's going to be conflict in there that sadly slows down lightning round.
Yeah.
Okay. Also, you don't get follow-up questions. Why?
Oh,
Because
you did attempt to throw some
Twice.
follow-ups.
Well, that was an obligatory.
times.
You can't not ask if
No.
Die Hard is a Christmas
sorry,
movie.
you ask it in your other round.
But I can't
You
give
can't-
up the ghost movie question.
Sure, you could.
could have.
You could save it for another person.
Because the sloth was pretty obvious. I mean, come on.
That was a great answer.
Yeah, what else are you going to do?
Great answer.
Yeah, an elephant?
Yeah.
But do
But if-
sloths have? Do they have fingernails? Do they have like?
They do, which makes really cool patterns.
Oh yeah, it'd be excellent lines.
Yeah, you could really do some really good pottery.
The guest crushed their animal-based answers.
they did.
No, clearly.
Yeah.
Right?
The mink was
Terrific.
unbelievable.
Who's going to be better code cracker than a mink?
There's no question about that.
Right? Clearly, I would say, and I think a mink is both water and land-based, I believe.
I think they can swim, yes.
Right? So I think I would take them over mongoose. Mongoose, I think, is troubled by water. Muskrat, not as sturdy on land. I think the mink is the perfect combination.
Zing.
And you can't trust a muskrat.
You should never trust a muskrat.
No,
I mean,
No.
it goes without saying.
I think if you wanted to say a person was not trustworthy without saying they're not trustworthy, you would be like, dude's a muskrat.
Is that what you
And
say?
you're total 100%.
That's what everybody says. They say thus and such, and do not trust a muskrat.
Be like, you happy with your financial advisor? And be like,
That guy's
I
a
like him.
muskrat.
Bit of a muskrat.
Yeah.
Right?
Okay.
It implies shady.
Yeah. Interesting.
Sketchy.
I don't think of muskrats that way, but now maybe I will.
You've not thought?
That's because you're a muskrat.
Oh.
Not a muskrat. That was unfair.
Yeah,
that was unfair.
I thought we
and
said something about
unnecessary.
positive.
Where was the positivity in
Yeah.
that?
That's
And
the,
you're
that,
just
that
firing
doesn't
on
mean it's a
things like that?
negative. It doesn't mean it's a negative thing.
Yeah.
But that sounds like
we
something a
just
muskrat
literally
would
got
say.
through
Yeah.
saying muskrat was a negative connotation. But
doesn't it sound like-
Adam's a muskrat?
Yeah.
Doesn't it sound like what a muskrat would say if you're saying,
Oh, dear
you can't
Now
trust a
you're
muskrat?
saying you're the muskrat because you said the untrustworthy thing.
You're a
I might
bad
be a
person on the
muskrat.
inside. That's the issue.
You can't self-muskrat yourself.
Yeah. Get
You don't
self
wanna-
muskrat.
You can't. Nobody's a self-muskratter.
But no,
I
I've never
never
thought about
believed that
the
you're a muskrat.
integrity of the muskrat, and so maybe that's on me.
So
Sorry
anyway,
about the muskrat.
If you keep the if you want to keep the animal questions,
I love you, Adam.
Well, I'm hurt, and I don't think we're going to get through this, but we'll figure it out. You're a fucking spare part.
do you want to? Do you want the? What do you want? Do you want the largest animals? Do you want the fastest animals? You know,
just the animals?
We did see that by saying largest animal, I tend to restrict creativity because when it was opened up, he hit us with mink, which would have been lost if I had restricted it as
Right.
largest animal. So that was
but
definitely
in the
lesson
writing of
learned.
it, do you feel like largest makes it funnier, but the bigger the animal, the weightier the punchline?
Nope.
Oh,
Unless you're talking about animals that you would cuddle with, because then it's a little creepy if you want to cuddle with a mink.
I don't think it's creepy to cuddle with a mink.
Yeah.
What about a muskrat?
Totally.
Can't be trusted.
Well, I would say.
That's like the bad dog.
I would say if we're going to expand the analogy a little, who among us hasn't found ourselves cuddling the occasional muskrat? Right? We know it's not good for us. We're kind of drawn to it anyway.
And your financial advisor's like, Jamie, can you get off me, please?
Oh, I think if the lightning round question, which you might want to jot down, is, have you ever cuddled with your financial advisor? I think it's a reasonable lightning round question.
That's reasonable.
Totally reasonable.
That's reasonable.
Yeah.
Can you say which is
Or
the
you
largest
could
financial
say-
advisor that you would cuddle
No,
with?
what you would say.
What's the
Here's
largest?
the no. I don't think you get into that, and you would say which animal.
6'2", 350.
Which animal would make the best financial advisor? That's a reasonable lightning round question.
If you listened to our previous episode, you'd hear that lightning round question.
Did you ask that specifically?
No.
I said, what's the largest animal you would trust to do your taxes?
Yes.
Totally different than financial advisor.
Totally different.
Totally different.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Come on,
And
man.
comedically, it's an example of parallel thinking.
Boom.
I may have listened to the episode, not really heard it, and it's influenced my participation in this conversation here.
Interesting.
Don't accuse me of stealing lightning round jokes.
Do not
I-
accuse
I-
me.
Don't make any accusations. Then I'm over here muskratting your lightning round jokes. Okay.
I do
Don't
think this is
self-muskrat. Don't
this is like
I'm not
self-muskrat.
self-muskrat.
Don't
this is-
self-muskrat.
This is like a hard T, soft B kind of situation because I do think that financial advisor works much better than taxes because who wants to think about taxes? Comedically, it's
Comedically,
Yeah.
taxes is a hard thing. That's
Yeah,
why I
yeah.
said financial
Yeah, yeah.
advisor.
So
right?
you
It's
I'm
less
learning.
restricting.
I'm learning.
But you said taxes.
I
He
know.
said taxes.
I'm saying
Right.
Bendel has one up.
Which
to me.
is maybe why it didn't register, because I didn't hear it as funny.
yeah, I get it.
Thanks to our guest, Corey Ryan Forrester. Go check him out online. Follow his content. You know it is being inspired in the middle of the night, and he turns right around, and it sounds like it was like a 5-hour from concept to posting. So you have the time in your life to maybe make some changes and pursue the things you want to pursue.
That's what I'm talking about, sheep. So I'm saying to might, when you wake up early and you that brilliant idea hits you in the middle of the night, no matter what the cause of your waking up is, let's go ahead and write that down because it could make the difference in what you're in your life going forward. But by the way, if you don't write it down and don't think about it,
Lost.
I'm here to tell you, you wake up at 7:30, it's gone.
All right. That's this episode of the BHHcast.
Chief, we love you.
Till next time, Jamie, and Adam. Taka taka.
Fire's getting low. This episode of the BHHcast is over. Time to go home now, sheep. Go on, back to where you came from. We'll call you back when it's time for another BHHcast. Taka taka.